Welcome to EduTip 32, where we'll talk about why you should think carefully before asking students to share details about their lives in class. EduTips is a side project of the Cult of Pedagogy podcast where I share one quick idea to make your teaching better. This is Jennifer Gonzalez, and I'm your host. EduTip 32 is sponsored by Studio. Studio is a planning tool which allows students to track and plan all of their classwork by estimating how much time a task will take and dividing larger tasks into smaller steps. This is a valuable tool to support parent conversations and help each student plan their work and pace themselves. Coaching students on better organization has a direct impact on their grades as well as their long-term success. Studio offers a free plan that allows students and parents to view all Google Classroom assignments and allows teachers to post to Google Classroom directly from their schedule, as well as track student organization. School and district plans come with added features like centralized timetables, workload management, and more LMS integrations. Visit studio.co/pedagogy, that's studio.co/pedagogy, to create your free account now and get your students planning. Today's EduTip is avoid putting kids in a Charlie Bucket situation. In a scene from the 1971 movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the main character, Charlie Bucket, is sitting in a classroom. His teacher is giving a math lesson and begins asking students to estimate how many Wonka chocolate bars they have bought in search of a golden ticket. The first student says 100. The second says 150. Then the teacher calls on Charlie, who quietly says 2. Assuming he means 200, the teacher proceeds to do the math with that number, but Charlie corrects him, saying he just meant 2. When the teacher expresses his disbelief, Charlie explains that he doesn't really like chocolate. This is a lie. Charlie's family is living in poverty so extreme that they all live together in one room. His parents, 4 grandparents who all share a single bed, and Charlie. Unlike his classmates' families, they can't afford luxuries like chocolate bars very often, especially not hundreds of them. But he lies to cover this up. The teacher moves on with the lesson, using the number 200, saying he can't do the example with a number as small as 2, and Charlie withers in shame. Although most teachers understand in theory that not all students have the same home life, sometimes we forget how big those differences can be and how humiliating it can be for a student to be asked to publicly share details about their lives outside of school. One scenario where this comes up often is when your class is coming together after a break, whether it's the beginning of a new school year or the return after winter or spring break. Alex Chevron-Vanette talks about these times in her book, Equity-Centered Trauma-Informed Education. And this is what she says. It's common for teachers to start the school year with some type of writing prompt or project to answer the question, what did you do this summer? If I'm a teacher who typically enjoys summer as a time to take off from work, spend time outdoors, and catch up with friends, this might seem like a reasonable question to ask. But we know that not all people experience summer as a positive time. Being out of school can mean increased food insecurity for families, isolation and loneliness for some students, or long hours of work. Some students may have experienced traumatic conditions and events over the summer. They may be worried that they will be judged or bullied by peers based on how they answer, "What did you do this summer?" This doesn't mean we never ask students about their lives, but it does mean we do so with a full understanding of how they may experience such questions. So when you and your students gather after a break, instead of asking everyone to share what they did over that break, you can instead give them a few choices. Maybe talking about their break activities is one of the options, but offer other interesting topics along with it. Here's a list of possibilities. What is something you're looking forward to in the upcoming month? What is a goal you've set for yourself this school year? What is something new you learned or experienced over the past few weeks or months? How are you different now than you were a year ago? What was something memorable you did over the break? Notice that the last question still gives students the option of talking about something they did over the break. I think it's still perfectly reasonable to make room for students who are excited to talk about their break to do so. But by making it one of many options and couching it this way, in other words, one memorable thing versus what did you do over break, you're no longer setting students up to have their lives compared side by side with the lives of their peers. And giving them more control over what they choose to share about their lives, you're significantly reducing the chances of putting them in a Charlie bucket situation. That's your tip for this time. You can find a written version of these tips and a link to a video version on Instagram at cultivepedagogy.com/edutips. Now go forth, make thoughtful choices, and teach.